Hey guys, welcome to my channel where I talk about health, spirituality, art, all kinds of things. I'm interested in a lot of topics. But I wanted to talk today a little bit about some supplements that have really helped with my health journey. And I probably will put my health journey, I said I'd do it before, and I probably will put a little bit more of a detailed video on that. But basically, I was diagnosed, well, as much as you can diagnose somebody, because there's tests that I don't know if things have changed now, because this was like 10 years ago, but I was told that there is no actual test to say if you have lupus. There's a number of factors that mount up along with positive ANA repeatedly. And the consultant was positive that I had lupus, but I signed myself out of the hospital after about a year and a half of 3 monthly checks because nothing really was changing. But then I did go on to have some effects for sure, related to either autoimmune disease. I had a few things. I also had a horrific stomach issues that I also was getting tests for all the time to see if they were Crohn's or allergy. Like, I used to have really horrible stomach problems where I'd always be really bloated and just I'd taste sulfur in my mouth, just horrible things. I actually was so scared of eating at one point that I used to cry about eating food because it made me so ill and I didn't know what I could and couldn't eat. And I've come miles from that place. But I still had some lingering effects. So, I mean, I started shifting my diet. So, you know, a caveat to this video is that it's not only these supplements that have like taken me from a terrible place to a great place. Obviously, it's not as simple as that. You know, if there was a couple of magic pills you could take and you would go from there to there, of course, you know, everyone would do it right away. But it's been a long journey for me of around like 14 years actually, where I feel it's taken me to really feel my absolute best and like a completely normal person. And at this point, probably a person 10 years younger than myself, or 10 years younger than a lot of people would feel at my age. But, so I obviously realized more recently that autoimmune disease is linked to leaky gut syndrome. And I was very early to get onto that. I didn't know the exact link. I didn't know the science behind it, but I did start to work out that food was shifting my symptoms. And I went on a really extreme raw veganism for a bit. I'm now not sort of as extreme, but I'm still mostly raw vegan. I have added eggs to my diet recently, as long as I know the source and I get them from little farms, like little small holding type things where they have the chickens. You know, I try and get my good sources, but I actually think that I really did need something from those eggs that maybe I could have found in vegan food, but I wasn't finding, clearly, because it's between that and these supplements, my energy is through the roof now. And so, yeah, I basically fixed the stomach issues a long time ago. I'm trying not to go too round the houses here, but then I do need to give like a bit of history. So I fixed my stomach issues with probiotics and diet to the point where I had no issues at all anymore. Obviously, I was still following relatively strict eating habits. I don't know what would have happened if I'd have returned to old ones. But that completely got rid of my bloating and any problems that I had with my stomach. And I fixed those within probably a couple of years after starting to be really healthy. Maybe it was an even shorter time. It did take a while, but it was like one of the first things to fix for me. But then I did go on to have, so the way my sort of illness presented itself, and I think there's a whole bundle of things that are in the sort of autoimmune category, because I also used to get rheumatoid written down on my forms, and I also had Raynaud's, which is something to do with circulation, and it used to make me kind of get white fingers and white toes, and, you know, my legs would all get patchy when it was cold, and I'd get fluorescent dots or even like black dots on my legs. And that happened from when I was a child at school. It's actually something that I've grown out of predominantly, and I don't have it anything like as bad as I did when I was younger. but they all kind of flow in the same category. And then you've got like fibromyalgia, I can't pronounce that very well, and there's arthritis, and there's just like a whole host of things really in autoimmune, and they all cross over a lot because I had a friend with extremely bad juvenile arthritis, and I noticed that we had a lot of crossover symptoms, and I think they do tend to cross over. And I used to get extreme lethargy, and it was almost like I had good periods where I would feel totally fine and I'd have a good level of energy. So I think people didn't really ever think there was anything wrong with me because I would obviously only do things when I felt good. But after I would do something, it was just very normal for me. And I guess I just didn't question it as much because it just became my routine that I would then need to stay in bed the next day. And as somebody self-employed, I could do that. And so it would very much be like that. If I had a night, so I could not understand people that would have a night out with friends or even a dinner. It didn't even have to be a mega late night. I'm just talking till midnight or what have you, and then be able to go to work the next day. That was impossible for me. If I had a social engagement, that was it for the day. Like all I could handle was a social engagement, and I could be all full of energy there, but then I would come home and I would not really be able to do anything the next day. And then, you know, then I could jump back in the day after. Sometimes I'd even need 2 days, and the same with the photo shoot. If I'd do a photo shoot and it was really hectic and there was lots of people there and it was sort of very high energy and hard work, you know, I could do it, I could get through it. I didn't sort of have problems dealing with that for the day. But then the next 2 days I would be exhausted. I wouldn't be able to do anything. I would sort of be resting the whole time, predominantly in my bed, you know. And there were times when this would go for sort of a few days, and it kind of coincided with me having a spiritual awakening. And I think I put a lot down to Kundalini awakening. And, you know, we are all connected. There's, you know, energy. And not only did I work on my diet, I also worked on my emotions and the you know, my empath traits, where I would just take on everyone else's stuff all the time. And I worked on, you know, my emotional connections with other people and my triggers. And so I never ever would say that any form of illness is simply diet related. I think there's so many, you know, other aspects to it. There's the emotional fixing that we know, why have we emotionally created this, and energetically, what energetically are we doing? Do we not have strong boundaries? Are we taking on other stuff too much? Are we people pleasing? So I think all of these things are really important as well. And I really came at it from all angles. But yeah, so for a long time, my energy slowly was getting better over the years, where I wouldn't need to be in bed the next day, but I'd just have to stay at home and I couldn't really do anything, but at least I could mooch around the house and I wouldn't have to lie in bed. And my other symptom was I used to get very, very weak and achy. So it was almost like I'd get a flare up, like I'd be okay and then I'd get a flare up, and my joints would be very achy. There's no pain, never had any pain, but they would be achy, like you'd had the flu or something. And I'd feel very weak to the point where sometimes I'd even struggle to kind of walk just to the kitchen. But then, you know, the next 2 days later, I could be in the gym. So people wouldn't really realize that it was that bad. But it was, and it lingered. And relatively recently, I think I'd gotten to a point where I just thought maybe this is kind of it for me, where I feel pretty good. I still have a battery. It's like, it's hard to explain for people that have not had sort of a form of chronic fatigue. And I'm sure there's people that have had it way worse than me, but it's kind of like a mist. It's like a fog of tiredness that when you have it, it's like you just can't claw out of it. It doesn't matter how much you sleep. It doesn't matter any of these things. It's like a fog of tiredness that descends over you. And they never really would put it down to anything, because then I'd have periods where I was fine, and it always coincided that if I ever went to have a checkup, I'd feel really energized that day. So obviously I just looked completely well, so they never really took it very seriously. But yeah, it's like a fog, and it's almost like your battery is never full. Like you don't wake up in the morning and you're energized, you know, you have to try and force yourself through the day to get more energized. And I think I kept doing, and what I realized actually, and I think this is what these supplements did for me, is I realized that I'd got it to quite a good level through, you know, healthy eating and stuff like this. But I think where I was going wrong is I was constantly trying to stimulate my immune system. I was constantly being like, oh, this is good for immune, you know, this is good for promoting immune system, and this is good for, you know, energy. And I'd always be looking at things that would give me more energy. And that was my focus, because I knew that was where I was struggling, was I was not waking up in the morning feeling energized and ready to go. And I think then I started to write it off to age a little bit, because I thought, well, probably a lot of people my age do start to get tired. So maybe just me getting better has sort of coincided with me getting older, and this is just it, you know, and I just have to accept that I have less energy. So I kind of gave up on it and just was living how, you know, how I was living, with a really healthy diet, sticking to, like, you know, trying a few new supplements every now and again when I found them. And then I found these 3 supplements all over the course of a month, and I've only been doing them for about a month, but I cannot believe the difference. And the first one I had was Turkey Tail, and I'll put some of the links to the companies below, because I do believe this particular supplement, the company was amazing, and they did these mushroom tinctures, and I found them at, can't remember the name of it now. I think it's the Natural and Organic Food exhibition in London, and they were called the Bristol Fungarium. And I went very much on intuition, because I'd never even heard of Turkey Tail before, ever, and I just felt drawn to that one. And before that, I'd been taking cordyceps, because I'd always just been about, I need energy, I'm lacking in energy, I need more energy. So I'd just been trying all these supplements that would give me more energy. But what Turkey Tail did, and I just thought I would try it, and I felt drawn to it, is it regulates your immune system. And it was at that moment that something in me clicked, and I thought, why am I trying to boost my immune system? Like, that's not the problem. My immune system needs to be regulated. It doesn't need to be boosted. I don't need, like, energy hitting at me all the time, because it's just too much. And I realized that maybe the key was, and I don't know if there's been, you know, there's probably studies on this, but I'm far more of an intuitive worker. That I like to just sort of feel into things and see what's helping. But I realized that what I really needed was immune regulation. I didn't need it to go even more mad and crazy and go attacking itself harder. I needed it to be regulated. I needed it to, like, be calmer in a way. And this Turkey Tail mushroom, I felt it immediately. As soon as I took the supplement, I made a little video about that. I felt my heart open. Since I've been taking it as well, I've gotten back into my flow state. I've been getting amazing kind of what you would call miracles, but, you know, just amazing little things. You know, like, I've always wanted to go to certain places in the world, and then friends have just been like, do you want a free holiday here? And it's just, wow, you know, that kind of flow state. And just everything in my life has been going better since I've been taking it. And it is a bit, you know, when I say it's expensive, you know, it's about £35, I think, or £30 a bottle, but it really was worth it, because I really felt it immediately, and I felt it just flow through my body, and I just felt myself have more energy almost immediately. And it's just been one of those things that has just shifted my whole life. And I never really knew, I haven't felt what it's like to have a normal person's energy or a great energy for so long, that I didn't, you know, I didn't even know how it felt to wake up in the morning at 8:30 and feel like you actually slept, and feel refreshed, and be able to do multiple things. I've been away for a week, and I've been waking up in the morning, you know, walking all day, you know, 10 kilometers or whatever, and then being able to get dressed, go out in the evening, and still wait and do a workout, and wake up the next day at 8:30. This is just something I've never done I just can't remember the last time that I could do that. I honestly just thought I was older and I was past all of it. So you can get your energy back. And there was obviously something that was missing. But I also started taking Shilajit, which is like a resin. And I did a video on that as well. It's a little black piece of resin. I just pull a chunk off and I suck on it in my mouth. I don't even dissolve it. I just put it in my mouth under my tongue and I let it dissolve. I don't even mind the taste. Some people are absolutely grossed out by it. I find with supplements, sometimes we're just so grossed out by some supplements and we don't mind some. And Shilajit is one that I really don't mind. Whereas Irish sea moss is one that I find absolutely horrendous. And I just have to neck it back on the spoon and follow it up with something else. That is the third one I was going to mention, and I've been on and off for a long time with Irish sea moss, and I kind of just committed to doing a big spoon of it every day, and I think that's really made my skin look better. And I think collectively those three things, and obviously just because they work for me doesn't mean they're going to work for you, because maybe it was just something in those things that I wasn't getting elsewhere and it just shifted me over the edge. But you know, they're definitely worth trying if you do have some kind of problem with energy and some form of chronic fatigue, because it's a horrible thing to have. And I was eating so well and I was still struggling with it. And I just couldn't quite shift those final barriers. I'd gotten better. I'd gotten to where I wasn't like lying in bed the day after I'd done anything the day before, but I hadn't fully shifted it until now. And I also think obviously the sunny weather helps, you know, when you've got a dark evening at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, of course you're going to feel more tired. Of course we naturally have more energy in the summer. But even if I think last summer or the summer before, I just was not like this. I was really, really struggling at times. You know, like I said, I could not do more than one thing in a day, and that was just normal. It became my new normal, that if I socialized, that was it. You know, that was the day. And then the next day I would still probably have to take it easy and do things around the flat. And then the next day I could go out and do something more heavy. And I just got used to living like that. And it has been absolutely incredible to feel like there's a good chance that I have completely fixed my energy. And I don't want to speak too soon because it's only been about a month that I felt like this. But I honestly did think it was something I was never going to feel again. And so, yeah, if you have any form of chronic fatigue, just try those three things. You know, the Shilajit, I got a really cheap one because my friend who's really, really into supplements, he actually tested a few and checked a few out for me. And he said, actually, this one's better than a lot of the more expensive ones that have stuff added to them, because it's like a hard lump. And I really trust him on supplements, and it's been good for me. I definitely felt it. As soon as I took the Shilajit, I felt just energy rushing through my body. The first day I took it, I felt like I'd taken drugs or something. It was so intense, but then it's not like that now. I just don't really feel that I've taken it. So you can build up some kind of, you know, tolerance to Shilajit. So start really, really small. I'm talking like tiny, and then build up. But yeah, I could just feel it unblocking everything and just shooting everywhere that it needed to be, which is actually what it does. But I could, you know, I felt it in my body. So it was, yeah, turkey tail mushroom extract, it was Shilajit, and it was Irish sea moss every day. And something in that combination has obviously hit the spot. And yeah, give it a try if you're struggling with energy. Because what do you have to lose, really? I mean, I know they all cost money, but collectively it's what, £50 for a month's supply. And I know that, you know, not everyone has access to that, but if you, the amount that you can then go and work because you actually have your energy back, it's worth the investment of it, rather than losing days to being in bed and not being able to actually be as productive as you want to be, because there is nothing more frustrating than wanting to be productive and really wanting to work harder, but just not having the energy to do it, and having to like just take small, you know, I would just, when I had energy, I'd get as much done as I possibly could, because I just didn't know when I'd have that energy again to be like that. So yeah, just some things that I've done that have really helped me, and if I can help other people that struggle with similar issues, then that's always a benefit for me. So Let me know if any of you have tried any of those supplements, or if you try them, if they work for you. I felt it very quickly. I felt a shift very quickly. I've also put my parents on Shilajit and Irish sea moss now. I don't think I'll get them yet on the mushroom tincture, but I've got them on those two, and my dad has felt a slight difference already. I don't think as much as me, but I think I've been a lot more consistent with these things. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. If anyone made it to the end, I don't know, and I'll chat soon. Bye.